Medical laboratories are always on the lookout for healthcare professionals who are willing to give their expert opinion on the latest medical breakthroughs. All Global Circle offers healthcare professionals the opportunity to shape the medical industry by participating in surveys that are relevant to their specialty. Receive $50 of sign-up bonuses and get paid for participating in studies by giving your opinion. Sign up today, impact millions of lives, and go to allglobalcircle.com. Welcome to the Happy Doc, the voice of fulfilled physicians, sharing life stories from physicians, health professionals, and entrepreneurs so that you can live your happy life. Hello, everyone. This is another live stream episode, and I'm really excited about trying this out because I think this is super fun, and I love the fact that I can also see people engaging on different social media platforms. So this is another live one, and this is an exciting episode for me. If you guys can see at the bottom, I've done 250 episodes of podcasting, and if you guys are tuning into this podcast episode, on my live stream, I actually have a little banner coming on the bottom of the screen that shows little titles. So I might be referring to that from time to time. So I thought what would be really cool for this episode is to discuss the podcast, the Happy Doc, but more importantly, what I want to talk about are the lessons I've learned from 250 episodes of recording. So if you guys are watching live, please drop some likes. I'd really enjoy that. But I'm going to go through some of these lessons that I've learned. I might not get through all of them, but I really do think that podcasting has absolutely changed my life. The Happy Doc podcast specifically, I get to speak to inspirational physicians. I get to speak to entrepreneurs. I get to speak to individuals who are happy and fulfilled in their life and to learn from them. So it's been an absolute amazing journey. And if you guys have any questions along the way, I'd love to hear what questions you guys have. So let's start with the lessons. I'm going to go with number one here, which is consistency and persistence are gold. Consistency and persistence are gold. So in the process of developing my own podcast, something that's been absolutely important in this process has been, number one, consistency to work on this craft. It goes without saying, but anything that you do in life, if you are not consistent, you will not get better. And number two, especially when it comes to social media, especially when it comes to trying to attract an audience, when it comes to building something, you have to be consistent. If you're trying to build a building, you can't just show up one day and then not even finish the foundation, right? You have to come in every single day. You have to have a plan. You have to attack it, and you have to do it every day until that building is finished. And that's what it comes down to with something like a craft and something that comes to with podcasting. There's no other way around it. But when you're building out a skill set, when you're building out something this amazing, such as with podcasting, you absolutely have to be consistent. The other thing to this is persistence. Persistence is the ability not just to be consistent, but when you fall off, when you stop, when you slow down, when you hit conflicts, when you hit barriers, you have to be persistent in the process of going to something. And so it's been absolutely paramount. It's been so important for me to be not just consistent, but also persistent and following up and getting back on the horse when I'm falling off, when I'm not where I need to be. So it's been an absolutely amazing journey for me to learn this lesson. And I see here that I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Nika says congrats. And thank you, Nika, so much. And if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, please let me know. But it means a lot because we hit 250 episodes and it's just a great milestone. So thank you so much for dropping some love. So lesson number two. This is super important. You never know what you can learn. So the big thing I hear from podcasters and people who do interviews and people who are doing this process a lot is, Taylor, they ask, Taylor, don't you get bored? Taylor, haven't you asked all the questions already? Haven't you learned all the lessons? Is there have you hit a point where it's not even fun anymore to do the happy doc? Have you hit a point where you've done so many interviews where you're not learning something? And the truth is I have zero idea. I'm not God. I'm not some, great being that knows everything. I'm a human being. I'm sitting here and I'm a guy that's asking lots of questions and learning, and really I can't predict. And to be honest, I never make assumptions around what I know and what I don't know. And when I ask questions and when I sit with someone, I get to learn from them. And that is absolutely amazing. So I never know what I can learn. Every single guest I have, every person I speak to is an opportunity to learn. And honestly, I've learned some amazing random things and different ideas and concepts that if I made assumptions or stopped myself from being open, I would miss out on those lessons. So I never know what I can learn. I hope that you don't make the assumption that you know everything and you know what you can learn, and you can't find you're looking for something, and once you find it, that's the end. No, it's honestly, it's just such an important process. And I'm still amazed to this day after 250 episodes. I still have not hit the brick wall of not being able to learn something. I'm constantly learning, and that's an amazing opportunity. Number 3, it's not just about the lesson, it's about the story. So in the process of podcasting and interviewing people, I'm not just trying to ask for lessons. And often I think when I first started podcasting, one thing I was looking for was to look for the lessons, learn the top tips, the number 1 tip, the top 5 tips, the top tools. But it's not just about the tools or the tips. It's not just about the lesson or the thing that the person's trying to teach. It's about the story. Every single person is unique. And so one of the things that I get a kick out of, what I love and enjoy learning from people, is their story, learning from the person, and not just because of the things they've done, but who they are as a person. When I learn from a human being, when I'm learning from someone who's interesting, I learn their story, and that is very gratifying. It's like it's an awesome feeling to know that I'm learning from a human being, a unique background, and every person is different. And often something else that's really important is when we can learn from a story, when someone tells a story, when there's a kind of a beginning, there's a conflict, there's some form of resolution, we can inject ourselves into the person's story, and we can take those lessons on a deeper level. So it's not just about the treasure at the end of the story, it's about the story itself. And that's been super meaningful in my process of podcasting. So for those of you who want to be more interested than interesting, meaning not trying to be the best person out there, but actually authentically be interested, if you go through that process and if you actually want to be interested in someone, focus on their story. Learn from their story. It's absolutely important. And it's been a lesson that I've learned in 250 episodes of this podcast. All right. Next lesson. I think I'm on number 4 here. Being present is more important than being smart. And so what did I mean by this? Being present means to literally be listening to someone. It's to notice what's going on exactly as it's happening. And in podcasting, it's so important to be present with your guests, be present in the interview, be present with who you're with in the room or in the virtual room. And this goes out to people also who are holding meetings during COVID and who are trying to engage with different individuals. It's more important to be present with what's in the room than necessarily it is to make witty remarks, making intelligent comments, asking the smart question. It's more important to actually be present to what's happening in the room, being present to what the conversation is about, and being with that story. When I'm interviewing people, something I've learned over time is it's better to be engaged with who I'm speaking to than to try to make something sound witty or interesting or funny. It's way more important to be engaged with who I'm with. And it's not just about being smart or sounding like the best person or saying something in a way that's going to make you sound like you know what you're talking about. It's much more important to literally just be present with who you're with and engage from there. And often the best questions I think I ask are in the moment. They're from the conversation. They're being engaged. I'm going to give some other tips here too. So we'll get to that in a second. All right. So now we're on number 5. You can create your own luck. So this is another lesson I'm learning through the process of not just podcasting, but business building, which is a lot of people think that luck is something that some people have and other people don't. But I'm going to tell you right now, through my process of podcasting and what I've created for myself, I can tell you right now, you can create your own luck. In 250 episodes, I've got to interview some amazing people. I've had the opportunity to reach out to different individuals at different level of business building, entrepreneurship, physicians of different specialties. And through that process, I get to create my own little mini network. And I've networked and connected with so many people. So it kind of goes back to what I talked about before, which is consistency and persistency over time is the gold. It's the thing that's going to take you to your next level. You can create your own luck through the network effect of meeting and speaking and engaging and working with lots of people over time. I will tell you, and this might ring true for some other people listening to this, that when you are consistent over time, when you reach out to these people, when you network, you never know who is going to help you take you to your next step. I have multiple examples in my own life and through podcasting where I needed something or I was trying to work through something and I met the right person at the right time, or the person I met a few months back, I reach out to them or they reach out to me and something magical happens, an opportunity happens, a business opportunity happens, a lesson comes up that I need to speak to them about. And so it's not really luck because you've created the network and the people, and you've put yourself out there in a way that people start to reach out to you and they want to speak to you and they want to connect with you. So you can create your own luck through the effect of being consistent, persistent, and pursuing something that you are passionate about, that you love, that you enjoy. And as you work towards that path and as you work on your craft, it's not even lucky anymore because it's consistently happening. So as you constantly put that out there, you're creating your own luck. And that's an awesome thing to learn and to actually see in real life. All right, we're on to number 6. Be curious, make no assumptions. So in interviewing, in podcasting, one of the lessons I've learned through this process is you don't know the other person on the other side of the phone. You don't know the other person on the other side of the video. And when you start to make assumptions, you're going to head into some sticky territory. So it's very important in an interview process. And when you're learning from people, it's just to be curious, ask questions, get to know the person, lean back, relax, and just have some fun. And that curiosity of asking questions and truly trying to understand the other person, number one, makes you sound interested because you're interested in the other person. And number two, that creates great conversation. So as an interview technique, something I've learned is to try to put on that curiosity cap, get into a space of humility, get into that space of just asking questions. And that has ultimately been super beneficial to my interview process, but also my own learning. So in medicine, if you're listening to this and you're not in medical care, it actually doesn't matter because whatever field you're in, if you're trying to learn, if you're trying to grow, you got to be curious. You have to kind of ask the questions. You want to reach out and learn consistently because that's going to get you to your next level of being able to operate and do whatever specialty it is that you do to be able to work in your position at your highest level and to consistently learn. So I believe this is 7 here. 1, 2, 7. Number 7, energy matters. And this is one thing I am super passionate about. And I talk about this topic a lot in different venues and different ideas. But what I want to talk about in this section is that when it comes to podcasting, the energy that I speak with and the energy I carry not only affects how I'm delivering information, but also affects the guests I'm speaking to. Right? So if I speak to a guest and I'm sounding tired and I'm sounding exhausted and I'm not really in it, and I had a hard day, and I'm emotionally not in a good place, that affects the interview, that affects the conversation. Whereas if I worked out, if I slept well, if I am in a mental state where my energy is up, if I've been eating well, if my nutrition is right, if I'm doing all of these parts, my energy is higher. And as such, it reflects in the work. Energy absolutely matters, not just to podcasting, but in whatever it is that you do, whether you're in a service industry, whether you're in a business where you're interacting with people, the way you come across, the energy you carry is going to impact what you do. So in podcasting, energy absolutely matters. It is so important. And it has absolutely been very valuable for me to focus on my internal energy, focus on myself, focus on what's going to make me the best I can be so that I can provide that energy to other people. As you guys have probably heard of the concept around filling your own cup, so you're so full, your cup overflows to other people. And I truly think that self-care is absolutely important, and self-care reflects in podcasting as well. And that energy is going to be the thing that allows us to tip over and provide that energy to other people and allow them to see the excitement, the passion, and the love that you have for whatever craft you have. So energy is absolutely important. And I see that Donna Coriel also commented on the live stream. Thank you so much, Donna. I really appreciate it. And I'm loving these live streams right now. So I'm ready to tackle this. So we'll move on to our next lesson, which I think we're on number 8 here, which is setting is important. And so for this lesson, this is something that took me a long time to understand. But when it comes to whatever business you do, for me, it's my podcast right now, whatever business that you have, how people see your brand, how people engage with your brand, how people come across what you do is going to be absolutely important. So when I'm talking about setting, specifically for podcasting, what I mean to say is whoever's coming into my ecosystem, I got to make sure that the setting, the way they're coming into my ecosystem is one where they love engaging with, for example, the Happy Doc podcast. If you come into this ecosystem, if you're coming into my world, and it's funny, in my background, it's very spacey right now, but as you're engaging with my world, with this brand, I hope that you have a positive experience so that the setting you've engaged in allows you to understand that this is something that you want to be a part of. When my guests come into the episode, I want them to have a setting that they enjoy the process from the beginning to the end. Whatever business you're doing, customer service, how you come across, how you communicate to people is essential for growing whatever it is that you do. So establishing that setting, establishing that brand, making people feel good, allowing them to engage with you in a way that makes them feel comfortable with you, allowing them to be to trust you, to appreciate you, to engage with your brand is going to be so important. So setting is absolutely valuable, and the setting of whatever it is that you do is going to take whatever you do to the next level. For podcasting, I want to make sure that my setting, how I engage, what I'm doing is coming across in the right way. And if it's not, I want to be able to ask the questions to allow other people to know, hey, let me know what I'm doing wrong here. Let me know what I have to do to improve my brand, improve my setting, improve the way I'm coming across. Because at the end of the day, I think we're all mostly well-intentioned people here, and we want to do a good job with everyone we interact with. And when we make those mistakes, we want to know how to fix it. So that setting is going to be absolutely important. And I see that Dr. Hina Talib, who I have interviewed in the past, has been saying, congratulations. Thank you so much. Episode 250, baby, we did it. And it's a very exciting thing. So thanks for being on for this. All right, now we are on our next point here. I've spoken about this previously, but this is a very valuable lesson I've learned in 250 episodes and business building, and that is that getting started is more important than being perfect. And quite often what I see for people who are nervous about engaging or trying something new for their business, for their life, whatever it is, they are always trying to be perfect. Well, as you guys know, it is absolutely impossible to be perfect at something when you've never even done the thing before. So it's more important, as opposed to being perfect, accept the reality that you're a newbie. Accept the reality that this is your first time. Accept the reality that you're a beginner. And it's totally fine to be a beginner. It doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter, what level of experience you're at. Just acknowledge that you're a beginner. Be okay with being a beginner. Have the beginner's mindset and appreciate it. Because honestly, if you're being authentic about where you're at, if you're engaging with your audience and whatever it is that you're doing, if you acknowledge your skill level, that honesty translates into people appreciating you, loving you for where you're at. And it's exciting to start something new. So right now, today I'm still a newbie and a beginner when it comes to these live streams and trying this out. So I wanted to get started, and it's more important to get started than being perfect. And honestly, what is perfect? Whose definition of perfection are we talking about here? Yeah, there's this idea of perfection in your mind, but really at the end of the day, we're all humans. We all make mistakes. It's a consistent process. We're going to mess up. Accept that reality and let's move forward. Let's get started. Let's take action. Let's do something. And so that has been an absolutely valuable lesson in 250 episodes of the Happy Doc podcast. All right, next lesson. There are different levels to craft. So it's interesting that I actually set these two together, because on one end, I'm telling you there is no perfection. But on the other end, I'll certainly tell you that there are different levels to any craft. In podcasting, I'll say this much. After 250 episodes, I can tell you I'm still a beginner. I'm still learning interview techniques. I'm still learning how to get better in all aspects of the business process. I'm constantly learning, and this is a craft. This is something that you work on consistently. So whatever business you're in, again, whatever you're doing in life, whatever you're trying to pursue, there are different levels to your craft. And if you don't know what the next level is, speak to people who are above you. Speak to people who are doing the same thing you're doing. You're going to learn something different. Speak to individuals who are actively practicing in the thing that you'd like to do to take yourself to the next level, because ultimately there are different levels to this game, and we want to play at a higher level if we're going to perform at our personal best. I'm not telling anyone on this episode or in this podcast or on this live stream to go beyond what they're capable of, but I am telling you that there's a potential that might be inside of you that you can go a little bit further, and it is up to you to find those different levels so that you can speak to the right people and that you can take your life to that next level, your craft to the next level, your skill level to the next level. And that's only going to happen by speaking and reaching out and networking with individuals who are playing the same game you're in, who are playing at a higher level than you're at. And it's absolutely important to do that as well. And to get back to my previous point, if you want to get started, you want to get started on the right foot, reach out to people who are already doing what it is that you'd like to try. And on this point, I'd also like to say that recently, I myself and 5 other physicians are in a podcast masterclass. And so if you want to learn from us, if you want to learn from people who are actively participating, by all means, reach out, because we're here to perform well. We're here to take our lives to the next level, and we want you to do the same. Next lesson here is things are always evolving. What I've learned from 250 episodes and 3.5 years of podcasting is things are always evolving. Technology, culture, people. When I first started podcasting, there weren't all of these tools out there to use. Like right now, I consistently use Zoom for episodes and for recording. But before I used Zoom, it wasn't as popular. I used Skype before, and I used something called eCam recording. The technology has changed. Meanwhile, as you guys know, this is COVID. This is COVID world right now. We're all in a pandemic. Culture has changed. So the conversations I'm having are changing. The people I'm interacting might change, or the person I spoke to 2 years ago might be off and doing something else. So I know a lot of people are constantly asking me in the podcasting process, aren't you getting tired? Aren't you getting bored? Haven't you learned everything? No, culture's changing. People are changing. Technology is changing. We're all evolving, and it's an exciting thing. Change can be scary, but it's also very exciting because I know personally there's an entire world I can constantly learn from and listen to and be curious about, because at the end of the day, the world's always evolving. We're constantly changing, and that's really exciting. And so if I were to say it a little bit differently, podcasting is kind of an infinity project for me, because I don't think it's ever going to end. I don't think there is an end, and that's fine. And so I think this is an absolutely valuable lesson. Things are always evolving, and it's okay that it is, and it's a really exciting thing that things are changing. Second to last lesson here, it's okay to pivot. To go off of my last point, in business, in your life, in whatever it is that you do, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to transition to a new step in whatever it is that you're doing. So with my podcasting, I've pivoted, I've changed the way I'm delivering things in a way to experiment and reflect who I am. I am not trying to put on a show for everyone without also engaging in what I'm doing. I have to be passionate about the projects that I'm doing. I also have to see if the project works. I have to see if the podcast is working. I have to see if people are listening. And so it's okay for me to change things up, and I don't have to be stiff, and I don't have to just do one direction. If I find that, there might be something else I want to engage in, and I want to do something else that's going to allow me to really be authentic and passionate and allow myself to really be successful. So it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to pivot. And in fact, I encourage that, especially when things need to change it up. You have to change your energy. You have to be excited, and some things get stale. And so it's absolutely okay to pivot. And I see here, Sylvia Perry also commented on this live stream. I want to thank you so much for checking this out and commenting. I really appreciate it. And we will move on to our last lesson here, guys. You've been bearing with me for this episode is a little bit more lengthy, but it really is a summary episode of some great lessons, 250 episodes of this podcast. And we're going to go to our last lesson here, which is enjoy the process. I don't care what it is you do in life. I mean, I do care to a certain extent. I don't want you to go off and doing terrible things to people, but I want you to enjoy the process, whatever it is, whatever business you're in, whatever craft you're learning, whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's something medically related, whether you're a health professional, whether you're a business owner, whether you're an entrepreneur, you have to enjoy your process. Life can be long and it can definitely be short. And it's much better to enjoy and find meaning and appreciate everything that you're doing and enjoying the steps that you're taking to grow, to learn, to go through this process, because honestly, that's what really matters. And on top of that, enjoy the process of who you're doing it with. Take notice of the wins. Take notice of the great things that are happening. Take notice of the changes. And if things aren't going well, come together and find the little bits of things that you can hold on to. Find the parts of it that are meaningful. Find the parts that you can grow strength from, even when it's hard. Enjoy the entire thing. And after 250 episodes of recording the Happy Doc podcast, I'm still enjoying the process. I love recording. I love doing this live stream right now. I love the fact that it's going to be put out to the podcast, and it's all about enjoying this process. So I want to thank you guys for being with me today, for listening to this live stream. I've been on for a little bit of time, but I've dropped some lessons from 250 episodes of the Happy Doc podcast. Please check out the podcast. It has been an absolutely amazing experience. I want to thank Madeline for commenting as well just now. She said, "You rock." Thank you. I think you rock, and I appreciate you being on and listening. But I want to thank everyone for checking out this live stream. I really appreciate it. And I would love to do more of this. I think it's super fun. And for those in podcast land who are going to be listening to this show, just know that I'm also posting these on live streams, so you can check that out as well. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you guys at another time. If you have any questions, comments, please let me know. Also, let me know about any feedback. I'd love to rock this live stream thing, and I'd love for you guys to let me know if you are enjoying this content. So take care, guys. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon. And that's the episode for today. I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. As always, guys, one thing I'd like to ask from you today is if you enjoyed the podcast, if you are enjoying the content, please leave a review on the podcasting app of your choice. It helps us so much, and it lets us know exactly what you're thinking and what you're enjoying from the podcast. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.